Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign up. Good morning. Here's what you need to know. It's over 3 days after it began. The federal government reopened Monday night after Senate Democrats agreed to a short-term spending bill without addressing the fate of young undocumented immigrants known as Dreamers. The vote exposed a rift between moderate Democrats who are up for re-election this year in states President Trump won and their more liberal counterparts. Here's how every senator voted. Tucked into the measure that will fund the government through February 8, $31 billion more in tax cuts. Immigration activists were furious, but our chief Washington correspondent notes the quandary that Democrats faced. While the Dreamers may be a highly sympathetic group, using them as a rationale for shuttering the federal government was not playing well. Talks to rework the North American Free Trade Agreement, which President Trump has called a disaster, resume this week. With the future of the 24-year-old pact uncertain, we looked at 3 products that NAFTA has shaped separately. On Monday, the U.S. slapped steep tariffs on washing machines and solar energy cells and panels, the first major step to erect the kind of trade barriers that Mr. Trump has said are necessary to protect American manufacturers. Turkey is waging an all-out assault against Syrian Kurds, American allies against the Islamic State. Turkey considers them terrorists and a threat to its territorial sovereignty. The offensive, carried out over the protests of the U.S. but apparently with the assent of Russia, demonstrates how much leverage Washington has lost in Syria, where the American focus has been on vanquishing Islamist militants. Now that ISIS is in retreat, the White House is trying to maintain relations with the Kurdish fighters without further alienating the Turks. Here's background information on the conflict. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.9 struck 170 miles off the southern coast early today, prompting a tsunami warning. There were no immediate reports of damage. A strong quake also struck off the southern coast of the Indonesian island of Java, rocking buildings in the capital, Jakarta. In the latest decision striking down political maps that unduly favor one party, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said on Monday that Republican-nominated districts clearly, plainly, and palpably violated the state's constitution. A new map must be submitted by next month, the court said. We looked at the ruling's implications for Pennsylvania's electoral future. The World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, begins today. There's a sense of optimism as populist movements wane. There's also plenty of snow. The conversation is already dominated by one topic: what will President Trump say? You can find all of our Davos coverage here. Elon Musk has agreed to stay on as Tesla's chief executive for the next decade, with his pay tied to $50 billion increases in the company's valuation. Otherwise, he makes 6 weeks after firing the former Congressman Harold Ford Jr. for unspecified misconduct. Morgan Stanley clarified that the misconduct was not sexual in nature. One of our tech columnists asks, is a healthier Facebook like Instagram? U.S. stocks were up on Monday. Here's a snapshot of global markets today. Tips, both new and old, for a more fulfilling life. The best trick to increase productivity. Just get started. How to maintain friendships. Recipe of the day: make the best broccoli and cheddar soup you've ever had. Partisan writing you shouldn't miss. Writers from across the political spectrum discuss the end of the government shutdown in memoriam. Naomi Parker Fraley was the long unrecognized inspiration for Rosie the Riveter, a bit of 1940s popular culture who became a feminist touchstone in the late 20th century. She was 96 and the nominees are. Nominations for the 90th Academy Awards will be announced today at the strangely specific time of 8:22 a.m. Eastern. Here's what to watch for, and our movie critics take. The Oscars ceremony is March for a new coach in New York, the Giants, who lost 13 games this season for the first time in the team's 92-year history, named Pat Shurmur as head coach. He was formerly the offensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings. You asked. Our new publisher answered. A. G. Sulzberger responded to questions from readers about his role and the future of the Times Best of Late-Night TV. The shutdown ended, but Seth Meyers wasn't exactly rejoicing. Quotation of the day: people normally do not throw a bachelor party without a bachelor. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing the majority opinion in a Supreme Court ruling that the police were entitled to arrest late-night partygoers at what some had claimed was a bachelor party. The Times, in other words, shares an image of today's front page, and links to our opinion content and crossword puzzles. Remember the Maine was a rallying cry of the Spanish-American War. Many North Americans surely remember the Alamo. But has the USS Pueblo been forgotten? On this day in 1968, the Pueblo, a Navy intelligence ship, was attacked and seized by North Korean patrol boats. Its 83 crew members were taken to Pyongyang and charged as spies, drawing a tense Cold War standoff. A Times editorial called the attack humiliating, and a prisoner drama marked by fraught negotiations, forced confessions, and propaganda ploys dragged on for 11 months. Here's more about the Pueblo incident. The Americans told of beatings, torture and deprivation, but they still found ways to get back at their captors. They slipped outrageous puns into self-written confessions, such as this one by the ship's commander, and surreptitiously raised their middle fingers in films and photographs. The sailors said it was the Hawaiian good luck salute. In the end, Washington reluctantly apologized, and the Pueblo crew was home in time for Christmas. The Pueblo itself is still in Pyongyang, where it's a tourist attraction at the Victorious War Museum. Charles McDermott contributed reporting ____________. Your morning briefing is published weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern and updated all morning. Browse past briefings here. If photographs appear out of order, please download the updated New York Times app from iTunes or Google Play. What would you like to see here? Contact us at briefing@newyorktimes.com. You can get the briefing delivered to your inbox Sunday through Friday. We have 4 global editions, timed for the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Australia, and an evening briefing on weeknights. Check out our full range of free newsletters here.